interrupt this video to clarify, this game is real. It is not a recruitment tool. No data is being collected. Simply enjoy yourself.
Hi, and welcome back to
Inspired to Game. I'm Sean.
And I'm Lola. If you like what you see here, please support our channel by subscribing down below.
And if you've already subscribed, make sure to hit the notification bell.
Today we are talking about Mind Management, the psychic espionage loyalty test. I mean game. Mind Management is a 1 to 5 player game, hidden movement game to be precise, in which you can play the recruiter who is looking to recruit to Mind Management, the nebulous entity that is responsible for keeping this world doing as it's supposed to and staying on track.
Illuminati.
Or you can play the rogue agents that are there to free the world from the tyranny of, I don't know, the man.
The establishment.
The establishment. To begin the game, the recruiter takes a mini version of the main map and puts it down in front of them behind a screen that only they can see. They write number 1 down on their board as their first movement. From there, they will be moving orthogonally in directions adjacent to them, but note they can never move through the same place more than once. Once they have put that number 1 down, they look at the top 3 cards on the features deck and circle all of the features on their board that correspond to the ones. Those are the areas that they are going to be able to recruit new agents. Every time they pass through a square that has these features on it, they will get new recruits. So before they begin, they will put the Immortals on the board. The Immortals will help them do additional recruits as well.
Now there's 4 rogue agents regardless of player count, and they will start on the edge of the board. During their turns, they will move up to 2 squares and take 1 action. Now the 4 actions are ask, reveal, shakedown, and capture. In an ask action, they will ask the recruiter if they have passed one of the features that agent of the square that agent is in. If the recruiter has, then they have to put down a step token in whatever square that they passed that feature in. Now, in a reveal action, the agent will have to go into a square that already has one of those step tokens and ask the recruiter to reveal at what point, or what step they were in that square. And then they will record that on one of those mental notes on the confirmed green side and put that down so they can record that information. And of course, in a capture action, if they think they're in the same square as the recruiter, they say, I'm going to capture you, and the recruiter says yes or no. And if it's yes, they've been captured, the rogue agents, win the game.
And the recruiter wins the game if they're able to recruit 12 people before the time track ends, or if they get to the time track without being captured. So that is the game in a nutshell. There are 2 versions of the game when you're playing it. There's a training mission initial start, and then there is the full game. The training mission is very simple, very basic, what you expect with a hidden movement game. And then you get into the full game, which adds the Immortals, which adds in the agent's special powers. And man, the game gets so much more complex. So, what do we think about this game?
Well,
I put him on the
night
spot.
and day. The training mission, you know where the recruiter starts, and of course that's the big difference. There's no Immortals to help them recruit, and then you watch as they move. Now the time track, they actually put down the number of recruits that they've gotten within those steps, so you know within those first 5 steps that they started here, they gained 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever recruits, and you can kind of start to already logic out what path they may have taken. Then you get into the main game, you have no idea where they started, you get the same information about how many recruits they got, and then there's those extra Immortals that you now have to figure out on. So it's a big leap in difficulty, because now it's not just a simple logic puzzle. You have to hit upon a good question, and hopefully it's one that's going to give you enough information that you can build on, because if you find you're on the exact opposite end of the board and you have no idea where the recruiter is or where they've been, you're going to have a much tougher time of it. So it's still a lot of fun to try and puzzle out. It's just not as easy as that training mission.
Well, what's important to note, because so you don't know anything to start with, but you're able to ask, have you been to this feature? And that really helps. So then you'll get a step token someplace, or even if you don't get a step token put down, you have some important information where they haven't been. But as soon as you first get that first step token out, and then you try to get another, and then you can start to piece together where they've been. And for the full mission, it's really, really important to get those, okay, reveal when exactly were you here? Was this your first step? Was this your fifth step? And then if you get a couple, if you have one that's 1 and you have one that's 5, now you know the direction that they were headed in, so that's really key. But to get back to the basics of the game, one thing I want to say as far as what we think about it, for to begin with, I really do love this game. This is a really fantastic game. I really love the hidden movement genre. And for me, it started with Scotland Yard, probably 20 years ago. I think that came out in 1998. Do you remember?
I have no
Yeah,
idea.
I'm just throwing numbers out there. You correct me if I'm wrong. But in any case, I always loved it because I love the logic aspect of it. This takes this up a notch. It is certainly in a completely different ballpark than that old school original hidden movement game. And I love that. The art is very interesting and engaging. What I loved is the box is amazing. All the components are amazing. It's the funniest thing I've ever read because there's hidden messages everywhere and they're hilarious, and they're usually from red font, blue font, from the different faction points, and we had a lot of time just investigating all the materials. So much attention went into these details that is absolutely fantastic. Getting back to the gameplay, the first part, the training mission, we found is very well balanced. But getting into the full game, as Sean was mentioning, it is so much more complex. As the recruiter, it's a really, really fun because now it just feels like you're unstoppable. Whereas as the agents, man, it's a lot tougher. And what I found most tough about this is because it makes sense to deduce where people were and to find out the exact location where they are, so on and so forth. But the Immortals changed the game so much by adding a whole lot of pressure because they're constantly gaining recruits of their own, and you're having to try to thwart them as much as you can. And they really change the game and make it much harder. But here's the big caveat of this. The neat thing that they've introduced is something called the shift system. The shift system is a series of packets that you get to open, and there's some on the one side, the recruiter side, and on the rogue agent side. So say if we're playing a game and one of us loses as the agents, well, then you get to take one of the first packages and you get to open it, and inside is going to be some kind of a boon, some kind of ability that you get to employ for your next game that's going to give you a bit of an edge. Well, maybe you do that and maybe you lose the next one too because that recruiter is so powerful. Well, now you get to open up another package and now you've got even more power yourself going into the next game, and that continues. So basically you're building your power, and once you get to the point that now maybe you're losing because you're the recruiter doesn't feel so much overpowered now the recruiter loses, now they get to open up a package because they have these too. So it can go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth with all this new material that's coming out, with all these different components or rules or parts that you get to play with to help bring about your own natural balance based on your own playing group. And I think this is really cool sounding. We haven't gotten into the shift system. We've actually played the game already now. We just got it last week and we played about 6 games or so already to try to give this a good review and get a good idea and feel for the game, particularly because you got to play both sides. So we had to try the training mission both sides, and we tried it with our teens as well, and then we had to try the full game on both sides too. But we're actually getting really excited to venture into the shift system as well to see how it plays.
Yeah, and to get back to, you were comparing this to Scotland Yard.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things that's always been difficult for me with Scotland Yard is just the ability to track mentally without taking notes, to say, all right, I know you took a bus, so I know you could be here, and then you took a taxi, so now you could be here, here, or here, and branches out further and further. This mind management helps mitigate that by giving you these mental notes. On one side, it's a white token, and that's the unconfirmed side. And as you learn places where the recruiter has not been, you write down, okay, well, I asked on step 8 that, did you pass dogs? And you said no, so now I can say, all right, you weren't there. I know you weren't there between steps 1 and 8, and put that everywhere, and that gives you some information. And then, of course, as you confirm things, you're putting confirm tokens in, and as you learn spaces, now you know, okay, well, I know you went there, and then there's a step token and one next to it, so I know that has to have been the step before or the step after, and then you really start to build that path, and there's no need to take notes or memorize things because you have all those notes already on the board. And I think that's really kind of a valuable and neat portion of it. And it's all dry erase and fantastic.
Yeah, and I think that's actually one of my favorite things about it. So thanks for bringing that up. Other than, I think the shift system sounds really neat, but the fact that as you're playing, you see the path of the recruiter take shape on the board. So you don't have to remember it all. You can make those mental notes. There is a limit as to how many you can make, and you're not allowed to take external notes either. So that's important, but it provides a lot of information so you can see it take shape, and that's really, really cool. Although that was much more prominent in our training mission games, because in the full game it goes so fast. Like, the recruiter is getting so many recruits, the Immortals are constantly pulling in their own recruits, that that we found it's kind of hard to get a good amount of information out on the board to make your deductions. So I do find that because of that with the full game, it did feel a little bit more luck dependent to me as well. So I love logic, I love deduction, I love thinking like this, but you have to be asking the questions, the right ones. You have to be, if you say, have you been to the subversive bookstore? Well, if they haven't, then that's not going to give you as much information than if they had, and they're able to give you a token right there. And maybe they're able to give you a token that was a place they just went to, and you knew they had been way back here, so you know that they're actually really close to here now. So there's a good part of luck as well with each game, depending on how you ask things and where they are and stuff.
And the game really keeps the rogue agents on their toes, because, like we said, you not only are you trying to find where is the recruiter right now so I can capture them, but at the same time you've got these 4 Immortals that are moving around, and you know what features that they're going for and what they're going to recruit from. So the recruiter has an Immortal here, and if they move that to that square, they'll be able to get another recruit this turn. So I want to try and prevent that, but I also want to move here. And you're really asked to weigh in the balance of, well, is it more important for me to ask that question, or is it more important for me to block that? And you really kept on your toes as the... And there's one other thing we haven't mentioned, and something that we would also be interested in exploring, of course. There is a solo and or co-op mode with an app you can download for free on your smartphone. So forgot about that, and that'll be, if we're kind of kicking each other's butts a little bit too much, we can go co-op.
Yeah, that's a good point. So this is a game, if you like hidden movement games, I think this is a really good one. If you've never tried one, I think this is a great one to try out. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to play with a lot of people, and the nice thing is you don't need a lot of people to play it. Unlike something like Scotland Yard, where you need at least 3 people, this is 1 to 5 players, so we could play it, the 2 of us, where one is playing all the agents, or even solo. So it's something that could be fun for anybody. Well, thank you for watching this video today. If you've liked what you've seen, please, as we mentioned, subscribe and make sure to check out some of our other videos.
Thank you very much for being here.
Happy gaming, folks.